This is the Coaching Life Podcast, episode number 72. Hi, my name is Chris Stewart, and I do a podcast with my friend Patrick Martin. And today, Pat and I are going to step away from our normal programming, our normal format for the Coaching Life Podcast, and we're going to have a conversation with a good friend of ours who is a Cincinnati Bengals fan. And as you know, my podcast partner, Pat Martin, is a huge Cleveland Browns fan. And this is the week leading up to the showdown between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. For the second time, of course, the Browns took the win in the first meeting of these two teams. But today we're going to call up our friend Lukas, and we're going to chat for a little bit about these two teams. And it's always a lot of fun when we do. But for those of you who are always looking for a lesson or some insight into our conversations that we have here on the Coaching Life Podcast, there is a lesson to be learned, a lesson for all of us who coach and who play the game. And if you'll listen closely for it, we think you'll find it, certainly by the end of this conversation today. So here we are, without further ado, the Coaching Life Podcast, number 72, with Chris Stewart, Pat Martin, and our guest, Lukas Moore. So what we thought we would do today is, actually, Pat and I mentioned a few weeks ago, Pat actually mentioned it to me. He said, hey, you know what? We need to have Lukas Moore on again to talk on our podcast about, now that it's football season, and Lukas a lifelong Bengals fan, Pat a lifelong Browns fan, and the Bengals, of course, have hometown hero Joe Burrow, and the Browns have, well, Baker Mayfield. And a year ago, it was almost exactly a year ago, was the first time I think we had you on, right, Lukas? Like right on October 14th or so. And you guys went back and forth a little bit about the Bengals and the Browns, and it was a lot of fun. And so I'm kind of looking at maybe my role today as just being a referee. Since this is a sports podcast, I'll be the referee. But Pat and I were actually, we will discuss certain topics and themes every week, and as I thought about having a conversation about, what we're going to talk a lot about the Bengals and the Browns as they have an upcoming game this Sunday, playing for the second time, which the first time was not a good showing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Browns probably played one of their best games of the season in that particular game, and beat them pretty well. I'd say Baker Mayfield probably played one of his best games of the season, if not the best. Would you agree with that, Pat?
One of the best, yeah.
Yeah, he played pretty well there for a 3 or 4 game stretch. And so because these two teams have I guess I should say a recent, well, I don't know about recent for either of them. They have a history as far as Lukas's lifespan is concerned of losing.
I mean, that's me too.
And your lifespan as well, Pat, for the Browns.
I mean, that's true. When I was pretty young, we were winning, and then we left town.
Yeah.
Wait, it's been. Pat, how many playoff games have you watched in your life, Pat? Because I've watched 7, and I'm not sure you have.
No, I watched 7. Sure.
Yeah. Was the last playoff opportunity when was the last time the Browns were in the playoffs?
2001.
They played the Steelers, right?
Yeah, they won.
No, you're right. 2002. No, they lost.
Won. Okay. It was.
I'm pretty.
I think I remember listening to that game on the radio. I was driving, and it was pretty intense, wasn't it?
Very intense. The Browns were up huge at halftime, and they went to a prevent and let the Steelers come back and win. Dennis Northcutt dropped a first down ball to seal the game.
So anyway, several years ago when I was coaching baseball, not several years ago, just a few years ago, actually, when I was coaching high school baseball, we had a team that went about 13 games in a row without losing, and then we lost our first game, and everyone was kind of devastated, because everybody wants to shoot for perfection, even though in baseball that's next to impossible, but it's, especially in a varsity baseball setting or any highly competitive setting, it's a game you just don't win every day. And so as we gather around in the outfield, one of the things that I mentioned to them was something that I wanted them to do in terms of their perspective of walking away from that evening with a loss under our belt. I said, you can choose to look at the way we play and the results of how things end as a win or a loss, winning and losing, or you can choose to look at it as winning and learning. And we know we still lost the game, but every time we lose, I feel like we have the opportunity to learn more about ourselves than we do even in wins. So I will say this. The Bengals and the Browns should know themselves very well.
Oh, I'm
well.
The Bengals and Browns fans have seen enough psychologists over the last 30 years to know themselves pretty well too, Chris.
That's not funny. I would say that there's some virtue in that, but the problem with the Browns is, as far as knowing themselves after the loss, is we have a completely new front office this year, as we have almost every 2 to 3 years for the past 20 years. And you can't build anything off of that. You can't develop anything from that. And those losses don't matter at this point. A lot of the times, even Baker's saying it now when they're interviewing. Well, it's last year doesn't matter. Last year doesn't matter because we're constantly rebooting. So one of that's I mean, if you want to point to one thing why the Browns have been perennial losers, it's because we consistently make changes from the top of our organization down. You can't do that.
That's interesting because a lot of the conversation that I'm seeing on Twitter right now. In fact, at one point last night, Zach Taylor was number one trending in my feed at least, and that's what it seems like all the Bengals fans are calling for. Lucas, another change at the head coach position.
I mean, listen, the territory Zach Taylor is in is historic. I don't think Bengals fans would be screaming about it even if he had 5 wins or 6 wins. But the only coaches that have started this bad in their NFL career is I even forget his first name. The guy that first coached the Buccaneers when they went winless, John McKay, I think. John McKay, Don Shula.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are coaches that are infamous in NFL history for how bad of a coach they are. And Zach Taylor's sitting in that territory. He's won 12-1 in one-score games. They've lost 16 consecutive road games as a franchise. And Zach Taylor, I think, has lost 12 or 13 consecutive road games. And it's always something in every single game. And you talk about trends and you talk about improvements. And you do have to see the results. I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to fire Zach Taylor tomorrow, but yeah, I mean, I'm all for stability and I'm all for consistency and I'm all for pushing forward and keeping the same thing and learning, but you shouldn't do that with a guy who's never going to win. So there's a balance you have to have there as an organization, as an ownership group. And Mike Brown's fired a coach within 2 years of a tenure before. And Mike Brown loves consistency, loves giving guys 4 or 5 years, loves giving Marvin Lewis 16. So
yeah,
if Taylor continues losing, if this team is 1-7-1, they might fire him, and they might be right in doing it. And as long as you keep a lot of the other stuff consistent, I think you can plug and play a new coach, much like the Browns did, because it's starting to be a Freddie Kitchens vibe. Because I love the talent on the team. It just feels like they're missing that finishing touch, winning ability that so many teams in the NFL seem to have.
There are some head scratchers that take place in every Bengals game, it seems like, every week. Like just yesterday, was it 3rd and 1, and they line up under center, which doesn't typically go well. And they run a fullback dive in the 2-hole with a fullback that hadn't been on the field all that game. I don't know if he's been on the field in any games before that. And I'm like,
Chris, it was his first carry since 2018.
See that's even worse. I had no idea. Yeah. That's a head scratcher to me.
Excuse me.
Because it does not work. That does not, that in today's game, that does not work. And I'm not a head football coach.
I think it works.
If you got Ernest Biner or Kevin Mack,
or you have a good
1984
offensive line.
Well, yeah.
How are you going to run P. Ryan? P. Ryan's the smallest running back on the team. You stick him out there for a fullback dive on 3rd and 1 when you have Joe Burrow, who honestly, I'd rather Joe Burrow stand 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, take a snap like it's a punt, and run a fake punt over handing the ball to Samaje P. Ryan. Seriously. I mean, out of all the plays, the run a reverse, kick the ball, pooch punt.
Yeah, but
I don't care. There was better plays than that.
That's one of those plays that if it works, it's fine, and if it doesn't, the coach gets hammered for. Look, here's the thing. Here's Zach Taylor's biggest problem right now, in my opinion, as a Browns fan. I'm not an expert in football by any means, but I'm an expert in losing in football because I've done it for a long time. Zach Taylor has a problem of not being able to adjust to his personnel. That's why the Bengals were bad last year. Andy Dalton could have played more games, and they would have won more games. But Andy Dalton didn't fit Zach Taylor's offense, so he wanted to, go a different direction. He knew he was going to go a different direction. This year's the same way. I'm not looking at the win-loss record with Zach Taylor. I'm looking at the number of times that Joe Burrow's getting hit when he goes back to pass. All right? And Zach Taylor's most important responsibility this year is to make sure that Joe Burrow develops and that he makes it the next year without any lingering issues. And the way that they're going right now, that's not happening. And if Mike Brown's ever to make a good decision, it would be 3 or 4 weeks from now, if nothing has changed, to get rid of Zach Taylor and put someone in there interim to make sure that Joe Burrow survives into 2021. Because here's the thing, Lucas, and I know I saw a tweet that you made about, you said you're not worried about Joe Burrow's mentality because he's mentally tough. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter how big you are, how strong you are, and how mentally tough you are. When you can continue to get hit over and over and over again, when you continue to see pressure over and over again, you start to flinch. Because you got to take care of the ball, right? It's not just about physical pain. It's about taking care of the ball. It's about reacting to what's going on around you. And the more that happens to a young quarterback, the worse it is because they start seeing that pressure more and more as games go on.
I saw that very thing happen in yesterday's game. The pocket started to collapse on him, and he took a couple steps forward and then flinched, like kind of his shoulders went in like he was going to just go ahead and protect the ball, knowing he was going down, and then he found his running back coming out of the backfield and hit him on a little dump. Remember that little play? You could literally see his arm flinch.
Well, the thing is, fellas, is he was pressured on 9 of 49 dropbacks yesterday against what was the number one defense in the NFL.
They did better.
The thing is with Zach, it's whatever went wrong this week is the criticism thrown at him, and he's got to fix that, and he's got to fix that. And, Russ Heltman and I had this conversation yesterday of, well, it's this week it seems it's this, and this week it's this, and this week it's that. That's the problem with Zach Taylor. It's not that he can't coach offensive line. It's not that he can't coach this. It's not that he can't game manage. It's not that he can't put together a good game plan. It's not that they're not smart. It's that they're not consistent. And consistency comes with experience. Consistency comes with being ready for a position. And the dude's 35. And the Bengals almost admitted throughout the rumor mill that they were hiring a developmental coach. They were hiring a coach that was going to be the best coach in 10 years, not 2. The problem is you draft the most ready rookie quarterback since Andrew Luck, most ready right now. So now you have the fans. If Joe Burrow were a normal rookie and he were inconsistent, you can see the flashes of talent, man, he's got a lot of things to work on. But you know what? And then we'll let the coach develop with them. It's different. But fans are looking at the TV and they see what looks like a 10-year veteran out there dropping dimes left and right, and he's got an absolute crazy, unorganized team around him, and they're 1-4-1 when they really should be 4-1-1. And that's what's driving Bengals fans insane. And that's what's worrying is that consistency, fellas. Like Chris, and this is a coaching podcast. If your baseball team week to week finds a way to have a brand new problem, there's something wrong. Either in your coaching style, either in their practice habits, There's something that's off. If week to week, it's a different problem. And that's what's worrying me the most, is that every single week, it is a brand new issue. It's a brand new mistake. It's a brand new flaw in the game for the Cincinnati Bengals. They can't put a complete game together. They can't manage the game. They can't hold a lead. It's worrying. It's all those things are worrying. They have time to correct it, but it's a tough stretch. Browns, Titans, Steelers. And if you're 1-7-1, are you really going to convince the team they can win over the easier back half of the schedule? I mean, this team can't only win 3 games this year. That's the end of the Zach Taylor era. They have to win 5, 6, or 7 games. And right now, if every week something else is going to be wrong, they're not going to win 5 or 7 games.
It's a great observation, because that's something that you see every week. Aside from the Baltimore game, you see whatever the problem was the week before, it appears that they had corrected it, and they may even go to a lead. Out like yesterday, they jumped out to a big lead, 21-0 in the first half, and they may play really close, but then something happens, and that new problem shows up. Like against Baltimore, I thought the defense actually played pretty well. The defense kept them in that, gave them an opportunity. They were never really in the game, but the defense made it so that they should have been able to be in the game. Well, this past week, the offense came out and exploded, but it seemed like it did not matter what Indianapolis did. They were going to pass the ball all the way down the field. Would they run the ball for like 70 yards, if that? 40 yards maybe? How many times they handed off yesterday?
Not many. And the Bengals run defense was, they tried to give the Bengals run defense credit, but really it was a 21-point deficit, and Phillip Rivers got to have his best quarter of his career.
Yeah.
The Bengals. And, a little bit of context there were 2 guys that got over 40 snaps on defense that were not Bengals in mid-August. That's the type of injury situation they're dealing with on the defense. Yeah. Now, what scares me is that Phillip Rivers is a bad enough quarterback, at least heading into that game, that you can scheme your way into still defeating him, and it never happened. They weren't tight. They weren't locked in. They didn't lock in on the small things. That's all you needed to do. If that would have been Patrick Mahomes out there and we've got a bunch of injuries on the front, all right, you can excuse him dropping dimes all over your face. But this is a statue of a quarterback that has been horrific. The Colts fans wanted the dude benched coming into the week. And now this is the 3rd game this season, fellas. The 3rd game this season that a quarterback has their fan base calling for their head heading into the Bengals game, and then after the game, they look like a Greek god. Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's turn the page here. Let's talk about the Browns.
Get right.
Just for a second. Because, speaking of that, the Browns, I thought, since the Bengals game, or who did they play the week before the Bengals the first time around, Pat?
The Ravens.
The Ravens. Okay. So the Ravens crushed you. Then all of a sudden you play the Bengals, and it's like a page turned. And I even texted Pat last week and said, man, I actually think this team looks pretty good. And then they meet their kryptonite, or Baker's kryptonite, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they look like last year's second half of the season Browns again. What's going on there?
Well, I think it's very clear. I'll let Lucas give his thoughts, but
well, yeah, Baker's kryptonite is not the Steelers, it's not the Ravens. It's consistent pressure.
Yeah.
And that is Baker. And it's more kryptonite than any other quarterback. Now, we saw what the Ravens did to Joe Burrow, but go look at Joe's numbers. Joe is a veteran enough type of guy up here, up top. He's a veteran enough type of guy that when he gets his absolute brains beat in, he should have, any other quarterback in Cincinnati Bengals history, back to Boomer Esiason, facing the type of pressure Joe faced against the Ravens, would have been 7 of 27 with 105 yards and probably 3 picks, one of them for 6. Joe was 19 of 30 for $183, no touchdowns, only 1 pick. And on that pick, I still make an argument that A.J. Green probably should have fought for the football.
Yeah.
That's the type – he handled it. He got his brains beat in. He wasn't very good, but he handled it. And the problem with Baker Mayfield is the dude cannot handle pressure. He gets interviewed by a police officer. He thinks he's in trouble. He runs away and falls on his face. That to me, that video, I said, this guy can't handle a stressful situation with a police officer. How's he going to handle the Pittsburgh Steelers breathing down your neck every single play? Baker collapses under pressure. He collapses when things are going wrong. And that's not the guy you want. That's not the guy you want. I think the Browns are an excellent team. I think Stefanski, and I remember last year, fellas, I said if the Browns had a competent head coach, they'd go 12-4. I think they found a competent head coach. I think the Browns are going to be awesome. I think the Browns are going to win 10, 11, maybe even 12 games this year. I think the Browns are going to make the playoffs. And then they're going to get their teeth kicked in by the first team that has any type of a pass rush, and they fall behind it all because you have a really limited quarterback. You got a quarterback that is Case Keenum or Andy Dalton. I'd even give Andy Dalton at best. And that's 3 Pro Bowls.
Now you're talking about
And
the Cowboys quarterback.
Yeah, but let me just say this to come back at you on that, and I'll leave the cop chasing and stuff like that aside because I don't want to talk to Colin Cowherd today. I'm talking to Lukas Moore, so let's talk football.
Hey, I said that before Colin ever did. I said.
Yeah, but Colin gets on there and he just tries to stick it to Baker just to get him to respond. And if you notice, that's one thing Baker isn't doing this year is getting into Twitter wars with Colin Cowherd. So I do think there's some changes going on. But here's my challenge to you, Lukas. And he was a rookie and he didn't have a great game, and I wouldn't say he had a game like Joe Burrow had. But look at his first games against the Baltimore Ravens. Look at his first games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at his first year, his rookie year, and watch how he moves in the pocket. Watch how he handles pressure in that rookie year. He looks like a completely different quarterback right now. I completely agree with you. We're on the same page. I knew you were going to say it's not the Steelers, it's not the Ravens, it's pressure on Baker Mayfield. He cannot throw in the pocket. He's not comfortable. He's fidgety. He's scared. He's expecting to get hit. Okay, he doesn't know where to go with the ball. He just kind of drops his eyes. He loses everything in that situation. He didn't look like that as a rookie. He had poise. Like everyone was talking about, oh, man, Baker's poise. He's accurate. He throws on time. He was great as a rookie. What's changed? And I think the biggest thing that's changed is a year of Freddie Kitchens and a year of a bad offensive line, okay? And a year where they were running plays that they weren't practicing during practice, and Mayfield didn't know what to do with the ball. He didn't know where to go with the ball. So he started to doubt himself, and he started to expect to get hit because he was getting hit, okay? That's my guess. What's that?
Or was it that he gained a bunch of weight because he got married and just quit working? And then he gets his brains beat in, and now you've lost your confidence and your swagger. And he's appeared to me like a fragile personality since the first day I saw him in college. I said on the Sports Fan, after he was in the college football semifinal, I said I wouldn't draft Baker Mayfield in any round. And I said it for those exact reasons. And yes, he had a great rookie year. He had 7 touchdowns, no interceptions against the worst defense in NFL history in the Cincinnati Bengals. And I've got the stats right here for you, Pat. Baker Mayfield against the Cincinnati Bengals. 4-1, 62% completion, 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 picks, a 102 rating, and he's averaging almost 9 yards an attempt. Oh, my gosh, he looks great. Another thing about those games, I think he's been sacked twice in those games. He's faced pressure. Against every other NFL team, he is 13-18 with just 7 yards an attempt, 35 picks compared to 47 touchdowns, and only an 83 rating. Yeah. I think we were bamboozled by Baker's rookie year because twice he got to play the worst defense in NFL history. Twice he got to do that. And sure, I think we underrate the Browns' offensive scheme from the rookie year because Hugh Jackson had a lot of productive offenses in Cincinnati. I really do think we underrate that. And
Well,
I don't think they and like here's the thing about it is I never liked Baker. So I didn't fall hook, line, and sinker for his rookie year. Now I came out and admitted and said, hey, this guy, he can sling it around a little bit. He's going to be a 60+% completion guy. And if you get a great team around him, he's a starting NFL quarterback. He's a starting NFL quarterback. But I never fell for this thing that he was going to be a MVP candidate. Are you out of your mind? This guy is never going to throw 30 touchdowns. This guy is never going to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. And it's for a myriad of reasons. He's not very athletic. He's only 6 feet tall, so he can barely see windows. There's a reason why short quarterbacks haven't worked unless they're an elite athlete like Kyler and Russell Wilson, right? There's a reason these rules existed for NFL quarterbacks. And the worst part of it all is Baker doesn't understand who he is. He's a guy that's lost. And I don't know what type of coach can fix that, but I promise you, as a Cleveland Browns fan, you should not want to try and find out. You should try to find somebody else because it's not going to – I mean, do you really trust down 2 minutes in a playoff game against a team that you're better at every other position, 2 minutes left in the game, down 4 points, Baker Mayfield with the football?
No.
Do you?
No, I don't.
I don't.
Well,
and if that's the answer to the question, you do not have a quarterback.
But here's the thing. Here, in this world that we live in of instant gratification, nobody wants to take the time to understand what the end product is. Let me give you some stats, okay? Let me give you some stats. 6,700 yards, 60% completions, 38 touchdowns, 34 interceptions. Okay, 77 passer rating. Now stick with me here. 7,300 yards, 62% for completions, 41 touchdowns, 40 interceptions, 77 passer rating. All right. Drop you one more.
Okay.
8,200 yards, 62% completion, 56 touchdowns, 37 interceptions, 86 passer rating. Those are 3 quarterbacks in the first 34 games of their careers. The better stats belong to Baker Mayfield. The others are
who the others?
Brees,
Peyton Manning,
and Brett Favre.
Oh, Brett Favre.
Yeah. So
okay. So Brett, I have answers for these. One, Drew Brees was going through shoulder injuries and shifting franchises in his first few seasons. Brett Favre, same thing, also changed franchises, and his sophomore year was the worst sophomore season any quarterback's ever put together. And I test Brett Favre and Drew Brees are way better quarterbacks.
Sure.
Way better quarterbacks. And those guys played in an era. Look, those stats aren't impressive anymore, right? Brett Favre and Drew Brees, what they did when they played then, and I've been playing a video game that's a Madden, like an ESPN NFL 2K5. So I've just been looking at numbers from those eras. They're all bad because passing games weren't as good.
In perspective,
So,
in context of today. Right.
Where everybody's breaking completion percentage records. Like Joe Burrow's got a 66% completion percentage right now.
Sure.
And he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Right? So I just don't – the passing games are supposed to be better. Plus, he's had great receive. I mean, this – you think Drew Brees or Brett Favre played on a team like this in their first couple years?
No, not at all.
This
However,
with 17 to 20 other quarterbacks in this league, I'm dead serious. I mean, Matt Ryan. I mean, there are so many guys in this league that would win a Super Bowl with this Browns team. That's how good you guys are. And it's going to be wasted away. And I'm kind of sad for you because it's so sad to see. You've built the best team arguably in Browns history, and you're going to have a guy throw it away every time it matters.
Well, listen.
Every time it matters. 2 30-point blowouts on your docket. That's rough. That's rough.
You have to take into account the fact that Baker Mayfield has had 4 head coaches in 3 years. He's played in 3 different offensive, actually 4 different, because if you want to be truthful, after Hugh Jackson left, it wasn't that same offense. And it wasn't even Hugh Jackson's offense his rookie year. It was, who was it? Gooberhead from Pittsburgh that Ben Roethlisberger hated. Anyways, it was his offense. We got rid of him, and then it was the Bengals quarterback coach, the previous quarterback coach, that was helping that offense succeed in the second part of that season. But he's been in 3 different offenses in 3 years, right? So
yeah, and they all haven't worked. I mean, Pat, I just don't. Pat, why are we holding on to it?
Well, here's why. Here's why. Because we opened the podcast today with you talking about how important it is for an organization to be consistent, right? And the quarterback position is probably the second most important position in an organization, if not the most important, and depending on the dynamics. Right now the Browns think they have a strong front office led by Paul DePodesta and Andrew Berry, great GM that's been around the league a little bit, and everyone's high on him. He's a young guy that everyone loves. And now, you like Kevin Stefanski. I do too. I think he's going to be a good coach. I think it was a good hire. It seems like it is at this point anyway. As an organization, we really can't afford to go out and sell the farm for a number, a high for a rookie draft pick again. Okay, we can't afford to go.
See, but Pat, that's not. Listen, I'm telling you, there's going to be a second round guy that's better than Baker. I'm telling you, there's going to be something.
Well, if that's,
I'm not saying the Browns need to move on this second tomorrow. What I'm saying is that your backup and your starter, to me, could produce the same record. Not saying Case is better than Baker, but Case could produce the same. I mean, Case went 13-3 in Minnesota. So
yeah, but he didn't look much better when he came into the game the other day.
Because nobody's going to look good against the Ravens and Steelers this year, unless you're like Pat Mahomes.
Well, that's the only 2 games we're using against Baker right now. Listen.
But Baker hasn't been good in the other games. Against Cincinnati, Baker did not get hit until the personal foul in the fourth quarter. If Baker doesn't get hit, if he's got all day, yeah, he's accurate. Yeah, he can sling it around. Yeah, he can move the football. So can the other 33 guys.
True.
We are in the greatest of quarterback play this world has ever seen, because all the best athletes over the last 20 years have all said, hey, I want to play quarterback. You know why? They make all the money. They get all the fame. They get all the credit. It's become the most important. Kyler Murray was going to make $6 million being a shortstop for the Oakland Athletics. 20 years ago, he is never going to come play rookie quarterback in the NFL. And now he's here. Why? Because this is now the most vital position in American sports. It's the most coveted prize. We have the greatest quarterbacks ever, the most prepared, the most accurate, the strongest arms, the most mobile. It is the best era of quarterback play ever. And we're looking at Baker Mayfield and saying, well, we need to, it's just, it's not a good thing right now. And I talk about stability and I talk about Zach Taylor. I said, if Zach Taylor ain't the guy, he's got to go. And if Baker's not the guy, he's got to go. And you can spend a second round pick, and I guarantee you're going to find somebody that's at least Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. He's got a 92 rating right now because he's barely throwing the football. I mean, just ask yourself this. If you have to throw the ball 61 times, so flip Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield on that Thursday night game. Baker's throwing 5 or 6 interceptions, and there's not really a doubt. So it's like, what are we doing? I can find anybody to hand the ball off a bunch and throw short dump offs to one of the best receiver groups in the league. I hope his numbers are good, right? It's like, it's just because it seems like it's okay. And I wouldn't want to buy that as a Browns fan, because in this league, you need a guy to go win you the game. Ask the 49ers. They had it all perfect. Every piece perfect. Super good coach, super good team, great running game, demolished the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And they lost because their guy couldn't make the throw.
Yeah.
Their guy couldn't make the throw. And this league is about winning championships. And you've got a championship roster, and it ain't going to be here forever. And any Browns fan that thinks they're going to be this good for the next 10 years are crazy. You've got a window that's about 2 years, this year and next. So I would invest some sort of trade capital in Matt Ryan. I would invest some sort of trade capital. I think Andy Dalton on this Browns team they'd go 13-3, because the last time Andy Dalton had a roster like the Browns would have, the Bengals started 8-0 and ended up tying for the 1 seed in the AFC with the Patriots. And they lost out on the ball because tiebreaker. I think that the Browns have a real opportunity to be a Super Bowl champion, and Baker Mayfield will ruin it. So if we want to hold on to him because we love his progressive commercials, then you guys go ahead and make that mistake. But it's not a mistake we want to do.
I would disagree with you on the 2-year window, and I would say that, you know, I'm not looking to sell out for a one good run. I want to be consistently good year in, year out, you know, and I would say that, you know, our best example of that, or at least the closest one that we have to us, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. How did the Pittsburgh Steelers become the dominant year in, year out competitive team that they have been for 3 decades? They were consistent, right? They never had great quarterbacks in the late 80s and the early 90s, or late 90s. Bill Cowher never had a great quarterback.
Right? Yeah, but when did he win a Super Bowl? When he got Ben Roethlisberger. When did Chuck Noll win a Super Bowl? But
Roethlisberger didn't win him that Super Bowl. Roethlisberger didn't throw him to that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was built on a strong running game and a good defense. And the Browns right now are building just those things: a strong running game and a good defense.
What year did that happen? 2005. The same era we just argued about. That the numbers were inflated. That guys could. Brady had a 90. Brady wasn't good at all statistically, and yet you could win Super Bowls with him. Trent Dilfer was winning Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
Listen, it's a new game. It's a new game, because if you don't think that it's going to be one of these great quarterbacks that wins the Super Bowl this year, and anybody that doesn't think that isn't watching right now. Russell Wilson, are you kidding me with what he's doing right now? Drew Brees has got a 102 rating, and they want to bench him in New Orleans. And it's just blowing me away that Drew Brees is getting flack and Drew Brees is getting criticized. And yet, you know, and this is why people love the Browns fans, is they're very loyal, right? Very loyal. But you got a guy with a 93 rating and arguably one of the best rosters in the division, and he throws away a game every time you play a good team, and you want to hold on to him when Drew Brees has a 102 rating and he's getting criticized in New Orleans because he's not playing good enough, because that's how good the quarterback play is, right? Yeah. Joe Burrow is having the best season a number 1 pick has ever had to this point, statistically. And yet there's a rookie in the league that's outplaying him statistically. That's the era we're in. Where there's no more history and looking at numbers with quarterbacks. It's talent, it's mobility, it's arm strength, it's accuracy, it's poise, it's late game drives. And if, you know, like Joe Burrow has been excellent. But you know what the difference between him and these guys that have been in the league 4 or 5 years is? They are making the last drive to win the game. Because Joe Burrow, you know, I love the kid, but he's had 3 opportunities to go down and win the game. 3 opportunities where it was literally all on his shoulders, and he literally could have taken the team on his shoulders and won the game. 3 times that's happened. And he's 0-3. Well, 0-2-1. And that, to me, that's the difference between being pretty good in this league and great in this league. Pretty good in this league and great in this league. But I just don't think Baker's even pretty good. I think it's a real issue. I think that there's a chance, if he has another stinker, that Case Keenum's a starter, and you might be better for it, because at least Case Keenum knows Case Keenum. Baker Mayfield thinks he's Drew Brees. Baker Mayfield thinks he's Russell Wilson. And that's not a good thing. You don't want a guy thinking he's somebody who he's not, you know? And that's one thing Joe's got to learn. Joe can't be running around. Joe needs to play a little more like Alex Smith and less like Russell Wilson, right?
I think that's
it's hard to get to Joe's head, but guys need to learn who they are in this.
Well, I think that's what the Browns are trying to do this year with Baker Mayfield, though. And that's kind of, you know, we talked before offline. I said they're rebuilding him. That's kind of what I was referring to, is I believe they're trying to allow Baker Mayfield to figure out what type of quarterback he is while being able to compete, while being able to implement a new offense to all these guys. And I think it's not unfair to say that there's a possibility that Baker Mayfield could grow from his rookie season. And if he grows from his rookie season, I think he would be near, the top of the quarterback class in the NFL. I don't know that he's ever going to be a top 5 quarterback, but I think he's going to be a quarterback that can win. I think he can, he can make a drive at the end of the game. At least he could his rookie year, right? He did it against the Denver Broncos, who had a pretty good defense that year. Okay, so I think he could have done it then. The question is, what happened to him? And how do we get back to that? I agree with you about quarterbacks. You got to have a great one. And, that, like, I saw the stat, like the last 15 years, it's been like, an elite quarterback that's won every single Super Bowl. And for a while, it was Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady. That went back and forth between them, or another one in the NFC. But at the same time, you're just not finding those guys, and you can't risk, upheaving everything to take a chance on a guy that you're not sure of, because picking that quarterback in the NFL is a crapshoot. I mean, look at Justin Herbert right now. He's lights out. And I don't know how many people thought he was going to be playing as well as he does. Of course, it is his rookie year. There's not a lot of tape on him, right? Defenses hasn't adjusted to him yet. So there's still going to be some learning curve for him too. But I'm just saying, I don't know how you can completely dismiss what Baker did his rookie season. Take out the seven touchdowns to the Bengals. He still had a good rookie year. A lot of promise there.
He had a rookie year like Daniel Jones, and they're about to punt on him for Trevor Lawrence.
That's fair. That's fair.
This is in Daniel Jones, man. Daniel Jones 15 years ago, they'd be super excited about him, but it's just a new era. It's a new age. And
I can buy that.
And the Browns can make the playoffs with Baker Mayfield this year. And Baker Mayfield's probably about to tear up the Bengals, because we're not going to be able to rush the passer. You're going to run for 6 yards a carry, be on the field the whole time, and he's going to find 2 of the best wide receivers in the league running wide open. So, he's going to play good next weekend against Cincinnati. And, it's going to be a bounce back. And, Cleveland's going to be feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, you just ruined my next question.
There's a reality in this league about quarterback play right now. And I just don't – what's Baker's skill? What's his thing? Like, what's his thing that he's like, wow, man, that's awesome what he's good at? Because you can point to all the young quarterbacks right now, and all the ones that are going to stay have at least one. For Herbert, it's, oh, my gosh, he can throw the ball. Man, he can whip it, right? And you can develop Herbert's game around, man, he can whip it. What's Joe Burrow's? He's got that little bit of pocket shimmy, and he's got an ability to break down the field unlike any rookie we've seen, really. An ability to process defenses, be prepared, work hard, and be really accurate. And Baker's skill was being really accurate, and the dude's got a 62% career completion percentage.
Yeah.
When the league average is sneaking up to 64, right? 62% in 2008, great. 62% in 2020, not as good. And that's my point, is that I don't see the thing that redeems Baker. I don't see the thing that I look at as a coach, somebody that's trying to lead the other 52 to victory, and go, that's his thing. We can build around that. Other than that, he's Baker Mayfield and he won a Heisman Trophy. Like, that's the only thing. The dude is 6 foot tall. He can't see over his linemen. He doesn't handle pressure well. He makes horrific decisions time and time again. And his accuracy is NFL caliber. So, I mean, if that's what we're rolling with, then that's fine. You guys are going to win 10, 11 games. But I'm telling you, Browns fans, and I think a lot of them are starting to realize it, you cannot commit to having the 4th best quarterback in your division, because the Steelers are definitely going to find somebody better than Baker after Ben. You cannot commit to have the 4th best quarterback in your division for the next 10 years and plan on winning it. Like, that's insane. That's insane. Like,
I guess I would say.
What universe? Let me ask you this real quick. What universe is Baker Mayfield, even the 2nd best quarterback in the division in 10 years? Do you really see it as being a guy that watched Joe Burrow, watching Lamar Jackson, who's already got an MVP, knowing how good the Steelers organization is? I would be flabbergasted if in 5 to 10 years Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback in the AFC North. And if you're faced with that situation, you got to move on.
I could see it. I could see the Steelers not being able to replace Ben Roethlisberger. It's not as easy as you're making it sound. I could see, you know what? I'm not going to say it. Burrow plays for the Bengals. I'll say that. And yeah, I'm not sold on Lamar Jackson. People's gonna call me crazy when I say that. I know I've got a buddy, Brendan Leister, that he's on. He's Pro Football Focus. He's big on him. I think Lamar Jackson's a guy that can't win you football games when it matters. I think he's not going to throw you to victory. It's got to be his situation for the Ravens to be playing at their best. So now that could change, but I could see Baker Mayfield being the best quarterback in the division if we can get back to his poise, his rookie year, and yeah, his elite trait is his accuracy, and he's not been accurate because I don't think he knows where to go with the ball. I don't think he knows how he's struggling to read defenses. The defenses are easily confusing him, and he's feeling pressure all over the place when he's standing in that pocket. I completely see everything that you're talking about. I think is this season is going to it's going to say a lot about, what the Browns do going forward with Baker Mayfield. I feel like I think it'll be, a big season. I still think he'll be around next year, and that maybe that'll be it. I don't know, but I don't think there's a long-term commitment to him. But I don't know how you get rid. I still feel like he has the potential to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I just think so.
Guys,
we can move on.
Well,
Cam Newton was available this offseason, by the way, but
that's true. So we've had a pretty good breakdown here of both teams. Talked about the Bengals, talked about the Browns. Let's put them both on the field together, which they're going to be here in just 6 days. Sunday afternoon at 1:00 p.m. on CBS. The Bengals and the Browns will play again for the second time. I just want to ask, and I think Lucas already gave me the answer, or his answer. Who's more confident going into this Sunday? Lucas with the Bengals or Pat with the Browns?
Oh, it should be Pat, right?
I agree.
4-2 coming off. I mean, it's the same situation we faced on Thursday night. The only thing that Pat should be nervous about is this is the first time Joe Burrow gets to see a defense a second time.
Second time. Yep. I was going to mention that.
So, I mean, if Joe Burrow is as smart as we know he is, and the Browns decide that, he's a rookie, we don't need to really change it up, that is the only way I see the Browns losing, is Joe Burrow going out there and dropping 40 points on somebody. Because it is right, fellas. He is this close to dropping 45 and 6 touchdowns on somebody's head. It's going to happen to somebody. Somebody's going to have a bad week of practice. Somebody's going to disrespect them. Somebody's going to not be prepared. And the kid is going to drop 6 touchdowns on somebody's head. I don't think it'll be the Browns, but the Browns defense is certainly susceptible to it. So that's my only hope.
AJ woke
Joe
up
Burrow
this week.
Has an MVP type day,
And I think if the Browns don't do what they did the first time, and that is run the football. I know they don't have Chubb, right? He won't be back, will he, Pat?
No.
But their MO when they play well is handing the ball off. If they put it on Baker's shoulders, it could be a shootout. It could be a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think games. The NFL's a funny world, and it depends on how the game starts. I think momentum is huge, and if you get the Browns in the right spot, it'll make it difficult for them to come back. I do think. I'm a Browns fan, so I'm always nervous, right? I mean, I want to win, but on paper, we have more elite players than the Bengals do. We have more playmakers than the Bengals do. We have a better offensive line.
Absolutely.
I'm not worried about. I'm not, like Lucas said, Baker's not going to be pressured, so he should be able to make some plays. It should work out. A loss against the Bengals, and Lucas makes a good point about not adjusting from a coaching perspective. A loss against the Bengals would be probably that first dent on Kevin Stefanski's resume, in my opinion. I know a lot of fans out there kind of blaming Stefanski for the way we looked against the Ravens, the way we looked against the Steelers, but I just think sometimes you go out and you play a better team, and I think those teams were better. Plus, they got into a favorable situation early. Baker threw a pick 6, put us down 10-0, and right then, I'm sure everybody felt the vice grip. Because at that point, to Lucas's credit, we knew that, we probably weren't going to be able to stick to our game plan very much longer, which was run the ball. On top of that, the Steelers weren't going to let us run the ball.
Yeah.
So, we knew what was going to happen there. So, yeah, if the Bengals come out and jump ahead somehow, a turnover or something like that, they get ahead, and then you got Burrow out there slinging it, and we're not putting any pressure on him or doing anything different. Anything can happen for sure.
And the Bengals have also proved that they can come out and jump ahead, but that doesn't really matter.
Well, but that goes against the Browns' strengths right now. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not comfortable throwing to get back into the game by any stretch of the imagination.
Whereas that was all Indianapolis could do or chose to do.
Yeah. Well, the difference between Phillip Rivers and Baker Mayfield at this point in their career is that Phillip is just going to make better decisions when he's got a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's my worry.
He had time to order dinner yesterday.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, of course, a guy that's played in the league that long and is that accurate is going to look that good when he doesn't get hit all day.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure Baker can do that, but Baker with a lot of time is a solid little quarterback, and if they can run the ball, which they will be able to, because the Browns' run game has been dominant, other than the two, big duds they had because they fell behind. I just don't see the Bengals stopping the Browns' running game. So the only path to victory, which, again, this is like the 8th time I've said this year, probably 7th time in a row I've said this. Hey, if Joe Burrow plays like an MVP, they'll win. And if you're going to ask your quarterback to do that 16 times, you're not going to win a lot of games, especially when he's in his first year in the NFL. Because Joe will have these moments in the game where the defense changes just a little bit, and he's just not adjusting as quick as he did at LSU because he just hasn't seen it before. They're doing it at a slightly quicker and higher level. He's got to get the feel. He's got to get the rhythm. And Joe Burrow has always been a rhythm and feel player. And those type of players dominate the NFL over time. The guys with the work ethic, the guys with the film study, the guys with the knowledge, the guys with the consistency, the guys with the get back up and push forward attitude, that was Joe Burrow's big mental trait, is his ability to overcome adversity. Those guys are designed for this league, but they're designed for this league over time. It's Joe Burrow. If you wanted to the best quarterback for this season, you pick Justin Herbert. And I think I would have agreed with that before the draft, because you put him on a good team. He's got a cannon of an arm. You let him rip the ball. You make his reads for him. You're going to win some games. He's going to throw for a lot of yards. You want the best guy in 10 years. Joe Burrow was the most selection anybody's ever made. Because anybody that's ever heard of, known of, a person that knows Joe Burrow knows it is guaranteed 100% lock in 10 years he will be 50 times the quarterback, because he's putting in that amount of work every single day. And that's really that's why I always love this podcast, because that is Joe Burrow's most important trait. Because go look at Joe when he was like a freshman in high school. This little lanky, not very athletic kid, and he's pretty accurate with the football, and it just wasn't special. It was never special. That's why he didn't get a lot of offers. What's special about him is what is unseen. And I think really, I had this thought pop into my head. And Chris, I texted you that he looks like Tom Brady. I think we're about to find out, if you drop Tom Brady in a bad organization instead of the New England Patriots, what would his career have looked like? I think that's what we're about to find out. Is it a Super Bowl? I don't know. But it's certainly not going to be New England. It's certainly not going to be this great organization. The Bengals are going to give Joe Burrow 2 to 3 Super Bowl teams. And in those years, can he win it? That's the question. It's not been about, can we win 3? Can we win 4? Can we win 5? It's literally been the question that Browns and Bengals fans have been seeking forever. Can you win 1? Is this the guy to get you just one championship, one time to say we are the best team in the NFL? We are champions, a thing that I've dreamed about since I was 4 years old. Can he do it one time? And he's only going to have 2 or 3 shots to do it with this organization, just 2 or 3 shots. Is this the guy to do it? Probably. In my mind, I think so, from what I've seen. But, that's his main trait. is the work ethic, the credit. He will be a better quarterback next year than he was this year. Baker was not. A lot of guys aren't. He will be a 5 times, 10 times better quarterback in 5 years because that's what he's done every year of his life. He's gotten a little bit faster. He's gotten a little bit stronger. You talk to Coach Nathan White about it every single year. Every time he sees Joe, he's in better shape. Every time he sees Joe, he knows more about football. Every time he sees Joe, he's thought about the game a little bit more. He's gotten wiser. He's gotten a little more moxie and swagger. He's grown every single day of his life. He has this uncanny ability to grow as a person. And 30-year-old Joe Burrow is going to be terrifying once he's seen every defense. And that's my hope for this Sunday, is that he's learned. He's seen the Browns. He knows all the defenders. He knows their scheme. He knows their tendencies. And if he's the type of mental processor I think he is, there's a real chance that he has completely solved the Browns defense, which isn't very good to begin with, and drops 45 on them. And that's the only path to victory for the Cincinnati Bengals. I know that was long-winded, but
and
I mean,
unfortunately on my side, my hope is that Myles Garrett ends up with about 4 sacks, which the Bengals are really good at giving up right now. As a matter of fact, Joe's been sacked, 24 times in 6 games?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
So he's on pace to get sacked 60 times. Tim Couch got sacked about 55 times. I know what happens to a quarterback when they get sacked 55 times, and it's not good. And Zach Taylor and the Bengals organization needs to do something for our boy. I'm telling you, they need to keep him out of pressure. They need to keep him from getting hit because it's not good long term for a quarterback to get hit as many times as he's getting hit.
Yeah, but it's the physical aspect of it. I mean,
both.
I refuse to buy the mentality part of it. Yes, if he gets sacked 75 times this year, which he won't. You know why? Because if the Bengals lose the next 2 games and he takes 8 sacks, they're just going to start handing it off even if they're down 14.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I hope you're right. As a matter of fact, I think they should do that now. But I don't think they will because I don't think Zach Taylor will adjust that way. I really don't. But yes, if I was Mike Brown, I would say that you're handing off. You're running the football. Well, we're trying to win. No, you're going to hand the football off. And that's what I've been saying for most of the year, really. I feel like Zach Taylor is trying too hard. He's trying too hard to make things work within this box he has in his head.
How much influence and say would you think your rookie quarterback has in that? Because, Lucas, knowing Joe the way we know him, you know that there's no way he wants to turn around and hand it off when you're down 14.
No, I know. And that's the thing is that, unfortunately, there isn't an adult in the room in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I bet if there were an adult in the room in Cincinnati, you do not hand off to Samaje Perine on 3rd and 1, who hasn't had a carry since 2018, right? Zach Taylor is an offensive coordinator, right? He's young, he's spunky, he has these really creative schemes. He works really well with the quarterback. They have a good relationship. They seem to prepare really well each week, even though they have a Beauregard offensive line. He's a really good OC. He's a good play caller. He's a good designer. You can see Zach Taylor's potential in that area, but I just don't think he was ready for this job yet, ready to make big decisions in tough moments and handle all of it. Be the game manager. Be the guy that knows the situation, knows how to pull the right strings at the right times. That's what being a head coach in football is. It's not about play calling. It's not. It can be, but it's not. It's about managing games. It's about being an adult and making adult decisions. And if there were an adult like, oh, God, so many NFL head coaches, and the OC says, hey, we're going to try that fullback dive with Perine. The head coach comes over the headset and goes, no, we're not. Hand it to Joe or run a quarterback sneak. We need this 3rd down. He gets kind of too involved in his play calling, and there isn't a guy to check Zach because Zach's not ready to check himself. And I don't know how long that's going to last. I'm not sure we have time to wait for Zach Taylor to grow up. But I think Joe has a lot of say in the offense. And in fact, I think by next year, Joe is probably going to have most of the say in the offense. He just hasn't seen the NFL yet. He needs to learn how to prepare. He needs to learn what work ethic you need to have, what you need to do to find a way to win games. And that's why I kind of wish the Bengals would have kept Andy Dalton around on the bench, just to have that guy that's at least won some games in the league before to help him prepare. Because what the hell is Ryan Finley doing on the bench behind him? He's not helping anything. He's standing there and all like, man, if I had talent like that, I'd be pretty good. And that's just they need an adult. They need a mature guy. They need a guy to make decisions. And hopefully somebody grows into that on the staff. But if they don't, it will be a new staff.
You know, he's probably looking for a head coach position here soon is Jason Garrett.
Oh, don't give me that guy. Come on. Eric's the enemy.
Yeah, Eric the enemy.
Yeah. Wade
Eric
Phillips wants to coach.
This guy.
Perfect. You know who I think the Bengals special teams coordinator that was there when Marvin Lewis was there, Darren Simmons. He's the assistant head coach. If the Bengals go 1-7-1, the Browns are not scared to turn over the position to Darren Simmons. And I think that a special teams guy is actually who you want as a head coach because they can manage the whole team. They can be in all the meetings. They can manage the most important aspect of coaching, which is special teams. And they can be the CEO of the team. And I think that's what the Bengals need. I don't think they need a fancy little play caller, which is what they have right now.
Guys, we need to wrap up. Let me ask you, anybody got any predictions? You got to give a prediction for this week.
Man, I don't get predictions on the Browns.
Yeah, putting you on the spot.
I'll tell you this. I'm picking against them in my pick'em league.
Are you really? What's
I
the
always
spread?
do. I always pick against them.
What's the spread?
It doesn't matter. I pick against them regardless.
Oh, really?
I don't know what the spread
just to pick
is.
them.
I hedge my bet.
I can pull the spread up right now.
I dare the Browns to lose by picking against them every week.
You probably got a pretty good record.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a lot of money there, Pat. There's money involved.
Not right now. I'm not. I'm 2-4 on the picks this year.
Browns are only 3-point favorites.
Wow.
On Sunday.
I would have thought it would be 7.
Cincinnati's returning home after a 2-game trip. They jump out 21-0 on the best defense in the league. Joe Burrow's second time seeing somebody. The problem is I just don't think the Bengals will stop the run. And if you can't stop the run, you're going to be off script and you're going to ask Joe to be special. And I think that's unfair. As much as I love Joe Burrow, it's unfair to ask the guy to win you games his rookie year every week. Hey, Joe, go win us this. Hey, Joe, throw 61 passes, almost come back against the Browns. Hey, Joe. And I'm not relying on that. I've now buried this season because there was a little bit of hope there. If they can be relying on it, if Joe can find a way to figure it out this quickly, which would have been incredible given the circumstances, then yes, but I'm kind of out on it. So I would predict Cleveland 34, Cincinnati 27. I think Browns control most of the game. There's flashes. Joe looks good, but they just can't stop the run. And, Browns fans are dancing on my grave once again. So
what was the score last time they played?
I won't dance on your grave. It was 35-30. I won't dance on your grave. I didn't last time.
Oh, that's right. There was a little comeback. There was an opportunity that last time. Yeah.
You have mentioned the best defense in the NFL twice. And I will say the Baker Mayfield played pretty good in a half. I won't say 4 quarters because it kind of went away from that. But in a half, he played pretty good against that same defense a couple weeks ago.
And then did he almost throw the game away, Pat?
No, he didn't almost throw the game away. Special teams cost us that. Special teams made that game close. And a couple drops by Jarvis Landry on 3rd downs. Just didn't work out.
I mean, I say they're the best defense in the league to kind of elevate my thoughts of yesterday, but in reality, they had a soft.
Oh, now here we go. That is Colin Cowherd right here. This is Colin Cowherd. I mean, this is who I'm talking to right now. The guy that backtracked. Colin Cowherd said Baker Mayfield's playing 4 really good defenses that pressure the quarterback in the next 4 weeks. This will tell the tale, and he played pretty well against all but one of them. And now Colin Cowherd's all, well, I didn't really mean what I said.
almost fell for that. I pull up his line. He's 21 of 37 with 2 picks. Only got sacked once at a 72 rating. Only averaged 6.6 yards per attempt. And if you adjust his yards per attempt with touchdowns, interception, it was an abysmal, what would be the bottom of the league, 5.3. So he didn't play well.
In the first half.
You got to play 2 halves in the NFL.
One of those interceptions was not his fault.
My pitcher pitched pretty great for about 2/3 of an inning, but that last out, man, he gave up 7 runs. But man, those 2/3 of an inning.
Yeah, but I already said it. I said a half. I said what I said. I said a half. One of those interceptions wasn't his fault. The other one was a bad pass. He also threw a bad pass against the Bengals, and we said that's been his best game. So interceptions in themselves aren't that always that bad.
I think that if you drop somebody down that had weird knowledge about the NFL but didn't know any players in the current league, and you had them watch the Browns and the Bengals, and you said, find me the rookie quarterback, there is not a person ever that would say it's Joe Burrow. Not one. Baker looks like a rookie half the time. And I think you could do that with most of them. I think Justin Herbert, too. I think a lot of the rookies last year, too. Who's the rookie? Baker or this guy? Baker or Daniel Jones? Baker or this guy? And Baker looks like the rookie. And that's a bad thing to be saying when you've got to make a contract decision within 12 months.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. I think that's the problem that we're facing, and I think that's what we think we can overcome as an organization. So we'll see. I think we'll have a better idea over the next 12 games, 10 games.
Yeah, of course. And Pat, it's always one thing about, and I wish it wasn't. I wish that you guys would one day connect it all and find a way to win, because I think that would genuinely be cool.
No, you don't.
Browns could find it'd be sports history. And let me say it, okay? I know I don't believe this, but let me say this, okay? Because I know a lot of people that are Browns fans, and listen, Pat, I consider you a friend for sure. I think you're a great man. I think you're great on the podcast. I think you deserve a winner. I think my buddy Paul, I think he deserves a winner. I think you guys deserve a winner. I do. Now, I don't want it at the expense of my team. But if you know what, I would love for you guys to figure out, and it be the Browns and Bengals dominating the AFC North, not the Ravens and Steelers.
I'm all for it. Let's make that happen.
It's just probably not going to happen because one of us is going to screw it up. One of us is going to. So I just hope it's not us, because if the Bengals screw up Joe Burrow, fellas, if one of these things happen, if Joe Burrow literally has the quarterback beat out of him, like Pat, you're mentioning, or if Joe Burrow leaves in free, or they never accomplish anything significant under Joe Burrow, I am done.
Yeah.
Because if the Cincinnati Bengals can't figure it out with this kid, then we'll never figure it out. And there's no point in me putting me or my future children through that. Right? There's no point in that. They don't figure it out with this guy. I hope they move the team. I hope they move him somewhere else.
Oh, don't say that. Lucas, don't say that.
Talking to a man who's been through it.
You want Mike Brown to sell. Worst case scenario, you want him to sell.
Yeah, but what? Sell to who? Sell to somebody that'll move the team. The city's not going to pay for another state if they don't figure. This is the problem, guys. The stadium deal is up in 5 years. And if there isn't even a playoff win in the thing, the taxpayers of Cincinnati are not going to re-up. They will not re-up on that deal. That was a bamboozled deal for Paul Brown Stadium. And they have lost every single playoff game played in the building. The people of Cincinnati, if they are handed the number 1 overall pick, a stud, the dude from Ohio, it's like a sports narrative out of a movie, and we still can't win with this guy, they're not going to pay an extra 5% on their taxes for a stadium the team won't ever win in. And when they're presented with that situation, you think Mike Brown, a guy that his only significant business in his life has been the Cincinnati Bengals, it's been his whole life is football. You think he's going to take that away from his kids by selling the team? No, they're going to move. They're going to move.
I don't.
Will happen. If the Bengals do not win a playoff game in the next 6 years, they will not be the Cincinnati Bengals in 2028. They won't be. And that's a reality. I'm not saying that as some crazy speculation. That is a reality.
That's unacceptable to me.
This is the last stretch of Bengaldom, and either we figure it out or we don't. But the Bengals won't be a thing. It'll be the San Diego Bengals. Okay? That's what we're staring at, because they're not even the most popular team in their state, and they made the playoffs 7 times compared to the other teams 1, and they still can't outsell them in tickets because they can't win in the playoffs. And that's a problem. It's not a sustainable business model, and if the city's not going to rebuild you a stadium because you can't figure out a way to win, they're going to move the team. And that's sad. And if Joe Burrow's still with them, I'll definitely still cheer for him. But if we don't figure it out with this kid, it ain't ever going to happen. And I'm not gonna listen. I'm young. I don't want my kid to do what I just did for the last 20 years. Okay, I'm not going to put him through that. So we either figure it out or I'm done. I'm finished.
Well, I don't want to hear that. That pulls at my heartstrings. I definitely don't want the Bengals to go anywhere. So, but if we don't figure out how to close this podcast out, we may never figure it out. So,
well, I'll say this, guys. I'm really looking forward to this Sunday. Looking forward to the game. Looking forward to probably texting with both of you a little bit, either during or after. I know Pat doesn't text much during the game. Yeah, I can tell he's nervous during the game. Like he just you're real short, kind of short with those texts.
Oh yeah, I'm not a good guy to be around during Browns games.
But I'll say this though, the quote of the day after about an hour's worth of conversation, the quote of the day was when Lukas said, "Baker Mayfield's a solid little quarterback."
That's what he is.
No better insult than that.
Hey, Baker Mayfield showed up and wanted to be the quarterback of my flag football team, I'd jump for joy. I'd love it. I'd be like,
I'm sure he's a lot of fun. I tell you, he's a great actor. He's got a job in Hollywood if he can't make this quarterback thing work out.
It's going to work.
I hate his grocery commercial. I love it.
Oh, he's good
every time.
He's really good. Yeah.
It's going to work. He's going to be the quarterback of the Browns for a long time.
Well, guys, Bengals Browns this Sunday. Probably the first time we've ever really kind of taken a step away from talking to coaches and players and parents to just talk a little bit of football. So we hope everybody enjoyed this. If not, we'll be back next week with our normal programming, our regular scheduled programming. How's that sound? Lukas, it was great talking to you, as always.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on. I'm sorry we stuck on football for so long, but I think we talked about some important themes in coaching too, and preparation and all that good stuff.
I agree. Consistency, definitely. I thought it was a great point that you made about if there's something new troubling your team every day or every week, every time you step on the field, then you've got to take a deep look, a look at something deeper within yourself as a coach, because the problem is deeper than just your X's and O's and your ability to make those X's and O's move on the field.
Yeah, That's a good point. Definitely.
So, yeah, there's some takeaways.
Appreciate you, Lukas. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
All right, sweet guys. I really appreciate it. Sorry we went long-winded.
Not a problem.
I'm good with it. It was fun. Had a good time.
Yep.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay happy. And I'll talk to you both throughout the week and definitely on Sunday, okay?
Will do.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
Later.
See you, Coach.
Yep.
See ya.